So as you know, I'm Betsy. I'm an executive and leadership coach at Vida. I've worked with Vida for 2.5 years, I would say. And most of my clients are people who have decided to get executive or leadership coaching on their own or with the support of their organizations. I primarily coach people who are really stepping into a people-centric leadership and working to give them tools, new ways of thinking about how they show up, what the hurdles that they perceive are, and how the way they show up may be helping or hurting their growth and impacting individuals on their team. I come to coaching from the corporate world. I was actually originally an attorney. I worked at McDonald's Corporation for many years, eventually ran my own business, which was the marketing business for some time. I worked in the nonprofit sector for some time, and all of that before I became an executive coach. I want to make sure that, like Justice said, everyone feels comfortable chiming in with questions, ideas, or just placeholders. Justice is here to help us connect the dots and make sure that we don't overlook anything towards the end of this conversation. Vida, in case you don't know us, it means love your life. We are a coaching company that focuses on leadership development, career, and life coaching. So clients come to us across the spectrum of opportunities that they want to explore. We believe that there does not need to be a trade-off between success and happiness, and that with the right tools, coaching, and accountability, everyone can find meaning and purpose in their work, i.e., live a more fulfilling and happy life. Today, we've developed an agenda in response to input from our clients. Many of our clients, particularly in the leadership development space, tell us that they're focused on people. Yay. But it can be really, really difficult to move past old patterns of when to coach and when to manage. So we work with our clients to explore what might be getting in their way, to share tools, to remind them to tap into their expertise and their intuition, and to get very self-aware, not only about what may be getting in their own way, but how their patterns and habits may be impacting their teams. Today, we'll talk a little bit about the differences between managing and coaching, how you might define and decide what's appropriate and when. We'll present a couple frameworks, and Justice and the team back at the office will share those frameworks with you in a follow-up email. We're going to practice a stop, start, and continue exercise, do a little exploration there, and all along the way, try to be responsive to your questions and answers and provide some answers. So the first thing, why does coaching matter? Coaching is a little bit of a new concept in terms of leadership. And by new, I mean maybe the past, 5 or 6 years. For those of us who grew up earlier in our corporate lives or organizational lives, it was always called management. And now it's often called coaching. I have my own definitions. They're very top line, but I'd love it if anybody would throw into the chat, what do you think makes coaching important? What do you notice in your workplace, or how do you define it? So feel free to lob into the chat or take yourself off mute. I'll start with my definitions and hopefully others will chime in. For coaching, I believe that leadership for myself is about developing individuals on my team. To do that, I intend to be clear about expectations, available for questions and to get obstacles out of the way, open to new ideas, and committed to providing clear and honest feedback. I want to go to coaching. I want to defer to coaching whenever I can. I see others are chiming in too, to appeal to others individual drivers for success. Coaching matters by creating more efficiency and efficacy in others by helping them see their strengths and opportunities. And you all can read along the chat, and Justice will capture some of these. So what is managing if this is coaching? Again, I'll share my definition. For me, managing means I may have new or inexperienced individuals on my team. I may have an emergency or a crisis. And I know that my expertise or experience is required now. That being said, I want to make the people on my team successful while we accomplish the goals we're setting out to accomplish. And so I will provide clear direction, give context, and define expectations. I will be sure to follow up. If anyone disagrees with any of that and or wants to add more texture, please continue to add it to the chat. And Justice, if anything's catching your eye and you want to share it, please jump out. Thanks you, Johanna. Management is important for disciplinary action and expectation setting. Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, Teresa. Coaching legacies live on and continue even when I'm gone, i.e., I'm growing up a team of people who will be able to step into my shoes when I move forward to step into different or bigger shoes. So this list goes on. I believe coaching counts. All the things that all of you are saying in the chat and a short list of my own. Coaching motivates people to speak up, to participate. It empowers decision-making. You don't have to come to me to make a decision. You can make your own decisions. And we'll talk about how to make sure people make good decisions or try really hard to do the same. When I'm coaching, I'm more likely to be driving creativity and problem solving, or creativity in problem solving, I'm helping my employees learn and grow, my team members. I'm maximizing an investment in the talent. And selfishly, I'm impacting my day-to-day ability to move things forward, lean into strategy, and reduce stress. And I would say if there's one thing that I hear a lot from my clients, especially now, is that they want to get out of the tactical day-to-day responsibilities. They want to start thinking forward and ahead, and they can't find the time to do it. And as a result, they're really stressed out. If that sounds familiar, put a smiley face or a check mark into the chat. Oops, sorry, people. And yet, and all of you are noting some of these examples, there are times and places where we absolutely need to manage. You all have even given some additional examples, but emergency situations. Very clear right or wrong answers. New or experienced team members. And I'm sure all of you can continue to add more examples. Those are kind of the things you may observe in the environment around you that help you decide when you need to manage instead of coach. And then there are the things internally that are going on. It's scary to delegate, i.e. to give up control. I don't even know what coaching means or how to do it. I'm the kind of person who is impatient to get things done, and it's going to take longer if I'm coaching. And for some of us, even a little bit of overconfidence, which is, I already know the answer to this. I'm sure I've explored everything and there can't be a better answer, that kind of thing. If you have other internal or external reasons why you might be avoiding coaching, throw those in the chat. What I want to call this whole exercise here, and we'll come back to this, is self-awareness. Not only what am I doing or failing to do that may be getting in the way of me helping others grow and the team prosper, but how are the things I'm doing actually stuck in my head in a story that limits my ability to even try making a change? Obviously, this is a huge area that we work on with our clients, which is exploring all those unknowns that we can get stuck in so easily. So what we're going to talk about today is making a plan. No plan is perfect. All plans are variable, but I know that on webinars, people love to walk away with some tools, and these tools will be shared with you, as we mentioned before. It's a great starting place. Oops, and my mouse is so sensitive today. What I'm going to throw out here is a 6-step coaching management plan. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, and we'll dig into some of the concepts as we continue. First, define what you want and can commit to doing. What kind of changes can you make that will help you become a better coach? This requires you to get clear about your leadership style and establish your short and longer term goals. Again, this is work you can do with a coach. It's also work you can do with a mentor or a friend in the office. A nice part about this definition is that you might decide to ask someone to help you stay accountable. Model the kind of leadership you choose. Intentionality around your decision. Today, I had a conversation with a client, and she told me what she was practicing in her quest to become a better leader was silence. We spent a lot of time talking about silence, and what she realized is how hard it is for her to sit back when 3 seconds listening to her team feels like 3 minutes. Many of you may recognize this, but in her choosing to practice silence, she's going to open up the space for others to step into and explore. Be as transparent as you can be. Communicate your intention to your team. I want to coach you. I want to support you. And we'll talk about some of the tools. I'm going to ask you the kinds of provocative questions that will help you, I hope, think and solve on your own. Become the kind of leader you want to be. Acknowledge and reward. Showcase the accomplishments of the individuals in the team. Communicate the opportunities, help them understand how their work ties into the big goals of the organization, and do the best you can in your communications to be clear, whether those communications are in person, via Slack or whatever system you use, text, email, whatever. Ask your manager to coach you. Many of you may be noticing that your manager is managing, and have a very open and vulnerable conversation about your goals to become more of a coach-like leader. Ask them if they're prepared to help you as your coach. And then eventually trust your gut. What's the right way to behave right now? How do I want to show up? What are the experiences I need to practice to step into the skill of coaching? One of the tools that you all receive from us is a template on a system that we call RISE at Amalavita. This is an exercise that you can walk through how to very top line decide when to coach and when to manage. So you can see RISE stands for right or wrong, inexperience, specific, or essential. I'm not going to walk through all the details of this because you all can read this on your own when it comes to you. But I want you to know that this is the kind of model that we often use with our clients to help each person assess where there's opportunity for growth for them. And when we meet with people, it's funny because we end up seeing these templates behind them on a board where they hang things up, or they save them as screensavers, etc. But glad to dig into any of this with you all as we continue. And if something's jumping out at you again, please don't hesitate to ask. Now we're getting into a little bit more around the topic of what is coaching. And we talked about earlier on trying to restrain ourselves from having all the answers, from being so sure that we know. And Silence, i.e. quiet, is part of that. But another part of it is something we call deep questioning, provocative questioning. As you can see in here, we talk about the difference between closed-ended questions and open-ended or thought-provoking questions. Closed-ended questions, and many of you may have already practiced with this skill, are questions that tend to evoke a yes or no answer. Did you complete the Excel work spreadsheet? Yes or no? Did you get the right, did you get a top line answer? Yes or no? As opposed to, how's it going with the Excel spreadsheet? Are there any obstacles that are in your way? Is there anything that I should be aware of? Thought-provoking questions are more powerful. They prompt the individual to think or rethink a problem and a solution. This helps them learn, feel empowered, and take more ownership of their work, as we discussed before. So, more examples. Are you clear on your objective? Can you do something about this? You might note there's a whole extra layer on everything we're talking about today around tone of voice, tone of email, tone of text. So be mindful of your tone. Instead of, are you clear on your objectives? You might say, what's the most important thing on your mind? How do you want to prioritize your project? If you could create a perfect solution, what would it look like? Do's. Ask questions that get the individuals to challenge their own biases, their own stories about the way things need to go. Ask questions that push them outside of their comfort zone. Don't ask questions that start with why. That can lead to defensiveness. Why did you create this PowerPoint in yellow? Oh, it's interesting that you chose yellow. What other colors did you explore? Ask questions that are leading to, do not ask questions that are leading to the answer you want. I think we all know what that means. Amusingly, all of these deep questioning ideas can be very useful in your personal life as well. But it does take the self-awareness to take one giant step back, decide what your objective is before stepping forward. And Justice, I'm counting on you if anything comes up that I'm not paying attention to in the chat. In addition to deep questioning, and this next topic, I guess could include deep questioning, it's all around communicating. And one of the things that many of our clients and client organizations come to us with questions around is, what's the best way to have an effective one-on-one? One of my biggest pieces of advice, and we're going to share via a follow-up email, a template with you that you can use. But one of my most biggest tips and bits of advice for all of you is, if I'm leading as a coach, what will a good outcome from this conversation entail? So for example, if I'm leading as the coach in my one-on-one with Joe, he will know I have confidence in his ability to run the meeting on Friday. I will have also communicated to him with appropriate follow-up from our last session. Joe, I noticed that you tend to mumble during introductions. How can I help you be better prepared for running this meeting on Friday? Oh, Joe says, I want to practice with you. I need to do this out loud 3 or 4 times. Would you be my audience? Sure. And Joe, who else might be a good audience for you? So not me saying to Joe, what I do when I'm nervous is da, 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 da. Joe may say to you, what do you do when you get nervous? And then are you ready to have that conversation with him? Again, we'll be sharing our one-on-one template. That's just a starting point with all of you in the notes. Oops, wrong. Sorry. Oops. Okay. I told you all that I was going to ask you to do a little thinking and be prepared to have a couple notes. We've talked top line, we only have an hour together today, about what coaching might mean to you to individuals you work with and to your organization. We're going to get into a little exercise now about trying to define what that really means for each and every one of you, for yourselves. And this is a draft. This is not something that typically we do in a short webinar, but I really think it'll give you a framework for considering how you're going to step into coaching and deciding when it's appropriate. Oops. So here's our reflection. Oops, you know what? I'm one page ahead of myself. I apologize. Oh, no, I'm right in order. So here's the reflection, and just jot down notes as I read through this list. Think about a favorite leader, manager, boss that you've had. And what are some of the things that made that person great? How did you feel around them? What got done because of their leadership style? What's unique about you as a leader? Why do or should or might people follow you? We all come with a different bag of tricks. What do you believe makes an organization thrive? What do you think makes people want to perform at their very best, exceed expectations? What are your non-negotiables? Where do you need to draw the line? Think about your career, I don't know, 3, 5, or 10 years from now, or maybe all of the above. What do you want to have accomplished? Who will be the most successful people in your organization then? And what will your influence on them have been? And certainly last but not least, how would your team members describe you as a leader now? And what would you like to hear from them? What would you want them to say? So take a couple minutes with your notes. I'll give you 2, even though this could be a much longer exercise. And then we'll start building out your top line individual plans. Okay. Does anybody want to share anything in the reflection that they think might just be interesting to the rest of the group? Are any of you having ahas here as you think about the answers to any of these questions? One thing I'll note that many of our clients tell us is that their favorite bosses or the people who they aspire to be more like have created open space for them, have encouraged them to use their voice and to explore their own creativity. And yes, Cardos, you do get the slides afterwards. It'll also be, as Justice will tell you, it'll be on our YouTube channel. Best boss made me feel heard and valued. A lot of people spend time talking to us about how coaching individuals leads to a coaching culture. And in a coaching culture, people are more likely to stay in their roles. I mean that in a good way, not to leave the company. And I know in the environment that we're currently leading in, losing people is challenging and replacing them is even more challenging. Has anyone come up with something 3, 5, 10 years from now, what you want to have accomplished that you'd like to share? Okay, I'll keep going on to the next exercise. Oops, sorry. So after reflecting and reviewing what you've written down, I'd like you to spend a few more minutes on the A, B, and C. The A, identify any trends, reused words, or themes. So I'm guessing Liz, who just wrote in the comment, to have developed other leaders. So people-centric, leaning into supporting the growth of others. Take a moment. What's popping out for you as you were brainstorming from the questions from the last page? It can be the negative things too, the things that concern you. What will I have to give up? What won't I be able to do anymore? Leilani, non-negotiables, judgmental attitude, speaking about others instead of speaking directly to them. Honesty, integrity, straightforwardness. Great, thank you. Now, after you've gone through this process of identifying the trends, the reused words and themes, can you summarize into a few short phrases or words that are really highlights of having done this exercise of reflecting what it would mean and what it might take to become a coach-like leader? For me, it's checking my own ego, not feeling like I have to be the one with all the answers. That's something I have to practice doing in order to elevate and coach others. The reward is seeing the light bulb go off in someone else's eyes. And the reward is allowing myself the flexibility to think about different topics. And then consolidate. Consolidate similar themes into concise and powerful statements. So if you go back to my first definition of what does leadership coaching mean to me, my statement was, I believe that leadership is about developing individuals who are on my team. To do that, I'll be clear about expectations, available for questions, and to get obstacles out of the way. I'll listen to their ideas and stay committed to providing clear and honest feedback. If you can get to a statement like that for yourself, you'll be able to start shining a light on what's missing in your current leadership style and what are the areas that you want to finesse. Anybody want to chime in with a preliminary statement that I have? Oh yeah, practice what I preach. Thanks, Patricia, for sure. Who else has something they'd be comfortable sharing? And you're welcome to go off, turn off your mute as well, and share it with the group. Or perhaps something you've been working on already with a coach or a mentor or an accountability partner. Okay, I'm gonna keep going then.
My coaching sessions, obviously to assist with knowledge base building, but it's also about confidence for the people. I'm in a leadership role. I work in banking, and so I go in and you have a certain expectation you think of that person. This is why they're in this role. This is why we hired them. And then you're surprised, that you have to spend so much time with this person. And so I think your method of asking more questions, leading them to their aha moments is the most powerful tool. And I think the more often you do it and the more you repeat that same cycle, their confidence goes up and you can actually see, their knowledge grow, as well as obviously the bottom line and whatever the objectives are, whether it's development and or sales related, whatever the objective is.
That's great. Thank you. I love the practical, example from your seat in your chair doing your job. So thank you so much for sharing that. Alana, our staff are an investment for us. It's only in my best interest for them to have learning opportunities and room to take on projects or activities and then lead themselves. Couldn't have said it better myself. Love it. Love it. And feel free, everyone on the call, to borrow from some of these good ideas from your peers. We learn best from those around us. Okay, if you decide that you want to chime in with any of this as we go, feel free to go on. So many of you may be aware of Stacey Abrams, and I listened to a podcast that she did. I forget, I'm embarrassed the name of the other person who she runs her business with, but the quote that we at Amalvita love is, transparency is telling the truth before you have to. What is that truth, and how does this apply to leading as a coach? Well, as I'm leading a team, trying to find that fine line between leading and coaching and managing and telling and asking and all this kind of stuff, I want to be very open and transparent with my team that my goal is to lead like a coach. There may be times where I'm going to default to telling, asking, etc. I'm going to be clear as best as I can and as appropriate with my team on how I'm going to decide when to do what. I'm going to tell them that their ability to build confidence in me, that I can trust them to do quality work, is in alignment with my goal to continue leading like a coach. So, transparency around how decisions will be made, transparency around expectations and exceptions. There may be times when I need to do things differently. There may be times where I really do a poor job leading as a coach, and I'm going to circle back around, think about it, and discuss it with you. But I'm going to be very open to all of that. And transparency around what's going to happen when something goes wrong. i.e., you're not going to lose your job if I know your intention was right. We will have a serious conversation, etc. Now, earlier on, somebody said there may be cases where we're down to the wire and this kind of esoteric, what feels esoteric to some of you, process may not be appropriate. We're kind of talking Beth's world right now. There may be a much longer list about things that you may feel you would need to be transparent around. And how are you going to walk the walk? What does this process of self-reflection, self-awareness look like and include? Well, you may have a 360 performed at your work now, or you may decide to have somebody assist you with running a 360. That's often part of our executive coaching package at Amalvita, but there are other ways to get that. And needless to say, we believe coaching is a huge opportunity for people trying to step into their own leadership, develop their own leadership style, and have confidence around their ability to coach. Needless to say, once again, that your ability to model the kinds of leadership that you believe makes organizations tick is the best way to make sure the seeds are planted for the people coming up behind you to do the same. So do what you ask others to do. You may hear a lot of buzzwords around right now about a coaching culture. Well, your organizational culture will be a reflection of you. It is your opportunity, responsibility, obligation, you fill in the blank, to lead by example, including mid-course corrections and apologizing when it doesn't go well. All of this to be said, you need to ask for help when you need it. Sometimes you may get, honestly, dumbfounded whether to coach or lead. You may feel like something's an emergency, but you need to check in and see if it really is. You might find yourself always telling somebody what to do and coaching someone else, and you may not be clear on why that's happening. Ask for help when you need it. Again, peers, mentors, family, coach. You find your resource, make it work for you. All of this requires practice and trusting your gut. For adult learning to take place, we don't just light the switch and suddenly everything's different. That's why I've focused so many times on self-awareness and self-confidence, Is this working? How is my team responding? What's going well? What's not going well? I know I should do this, but in my gut, I just feel it's not going to work. Why is that happening? Can I trust my gut now? All great stuff to consider. And like in all good coaching sessions, we like to end this part of our conversation with an exercise that we call start, stop, and continue. And again, this is something you can take away to many things that you're working on in your professional development. After you give more thought and additional thought, or even just the thought you've given today to coaching versus managing, consider, what will you start doing to lean into coaching as a leadership style? What will you start doing? What will you stop doing? What's no longer serving you, the company, or the culture that you're trying to develop? And of course, what will you continue doing? What's helpful? What's working well? Where is your team or individuals on your team? Where are they responding in a way that's really makes sense for all of you? So start, stop, continue. And now I think I'll bounce it to you to follow up, Justice, to field questions, and we'll see where we go from there.
Thank you so much, Betsy, and thank you for all the information. Thank you everyone for joining us today. If you found value in just anything Betsy has presented or want to learn a little bit more, Betsy, I believe you are currently taking on a few more clients. Do you want to speak to a little bit more of the other ways that you can help support your clients in your sessions?
Sure. I and the team of other leadership, life, and career coaches, many of us have many clients, and many of us are still taking incremental clients. I would say the vast majority of my clients come to me, and I think the other leadership coaches would say the same, around building confidence, effective communications, and clarity around the leadership style, both authenticity, but also impact and efficacy. And there are a myriad of topics that go under all of those subjects. We all try to meet our clients where you are. What do you need most from us? How can we lean in, to use trite words, to make you more successful in the goals that you've clarified for yourself? Each client gets a personal program that works best for them, and we try to be responsive to your needs. Glad to answer any specific questions, of course.
Yes, thank you so much. And then I did just drop my consult link again. Remember, your first session is free if you choose to enroll in a membership. And I also dropped the link to our website if you want to read up a little bit more about us as a company, different coaches. So feel free to explore as you need. But with that being said, we can open up to the question and answer. If anyone is comfortable enough to come off of mute to ask your question, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, you can go ahead and put them in the chat right now. But the time is yours to anyone who wants to take advantage of it.
I'll start with Richard's comment, which was recent, and this whole notion, I'm supposed to be the guy who has all the answers. I would posit to you that is that's not the newest and freshest model of leadership in the world, but it's really hard to step away from thinking like that. Many of us have been raised to say, if I've gotten promoted to this level, if I have this many people reporting to me, I should know what I'm doing. Yes, you should know what you're doing, and other people may have fresh perspective, new ways of doing it, challenges, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a yes and.
I have found staff of my peers in need of coaching and have been happy to do so, but that creates a potential issue. How would you handle that?
Elizabeth, I'm not, because it's a peer. I'm sorry, I missed the connection. Oh my gosh, this comes up so often. First of all, assess the situation. Who is this person? What is my relationship to them? What's really sticky right now? I got promoted, they didn't, et cetera, et cetera. And then this whole notion of leaning into the vulnerability. Hey, person X, person Y, person Z, whatever their name is. this is kind of awkward. How do you want to navigate this? Are you comfortable with me giving you feedback? What would make it easier for us to work together effectively? How can I be supportive so that you get promoted next, etc.? So that's my best advice, which is to really come up with an agreement between you and the person. First assess, then come up with an agreement. That comes up a lot though.
Kelly has asked, I'm curious, what has been some of the most rewarding benefits you've seen from coaching versus managing style?
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I think the biggest difference is the level of comfort people have in bringing forth their ideas, solutions, creativity, etc., and that you basically get more people to step to the line on all projects, that people show up ready to participate. And that changes the entire mood for the rest of the team, momentum, etc. So I think it's sort of a all boats rise sense that happens when people are being coached as opposed to managed.
Does anybody have any other questions while we have Betsy on the line? Betsy, in case someone's typing, do you want to give any final thoughts?
Honestly, everybody, this is a really, really fun topic. It is not something that needs to be happen in one fell swoop. Incremental changes should yield significant differences in the relationships you're building with people around you. Even as I said, some of the people who may be in your personal lives, you don't want to suddenly become their coach, but you may enhance the relationship that you have with them. And I just challenge you to complete some of these exercises, step into your curiosity. What would it be like if I was a more coach-like leader? What would be happening?
We do have one more. Any experience of coaching helping an organization which is known for burnout and high stress culture that you're trying to change?
Yeah. Oh, isn't that just the way it is right now? Oh my gosh, so many people with that. It's such a big question, and I have so many questions to ask you to clarify. But long story short, I think a starting place for you then, depending on your role, is to find an ally or some allies with whom you can have a conversation around this topic. I'm very curious about how we could institute a more coach-like management style in our organization. Here are some of the things I've learned. What are you noticing? Yes, we still have imminent deadlines. Yes, we still have high levels of accountability. And still, what would happen if we could lean a little bit more into some of these coach-like leaderships? Oh, thanks so much. Leilani threw in here, there's a great podcast this weekend. It's Dare to Lead, is it Brene Brown's podcast? Yeah, so Brene Brown has a number of podcasts, but one is called Dare to Lead. I haven't even seen this, so I'll check it out, but check that podcast out. It often has a lot of topics on the vulnerability and honesty and practice of leading like a coach, and what the benefits are and what we have to give up that we used to like to do. So thank you, Leilani.
And then we have one more from Mary. How would you open dialogue when you know a particular person does not care for you?
Mary, would you type into the chat just a little bit more what you mean when you say the person does not care for you? They don't trust you, they don't want you to be their boss. Just give me a little context. I'll make some assumptions then. Oh, here it is. This particular person is very closed off. Yeah, closed off. Yeah. You know, I'm at a loss to, I wish I could just pull something out of thin air to answer you with. You're obviously dealing with a fairly complicated relationship situation. Again, a good starting place might be to talk about this internally with a mentor or a trusted advisor and or a coach and see if you can dissect it a little bit. The question I often ask, and this is a great coaching question, or at least thing to keep an umbrella over your head, is what's really going on here? What's really going on here? Maybe you actually ask the person, maybe you think about it. I don't know. But that's often a good starting place. Like, something's wrong and I'm not sure what it is. What's really going on here? And of course, Mary, if you want to follow up and chit chat about this with either Justice or me, feel free to do that.
Thank you.
Do we have
Anything else?
any other questions? If not, in case someone is typing, I'm going to go ahead and also drop the links. If you want to check out any of Betsy or any of the other coaches' previous videos, they're on our YouTube page. And then if you go to our Eventbrite, you can see some of our upcoming events. But other than that, I think that we will just give you a few minutes back of your day. But we really appreciate you guys spending the day with us and hope to see you at a future event soon. Betsy?
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, as promised, in the follow-up email, you'll get the RISE model, the effective one-on-ones model, and the deep questioning model. And if there are other resources you think we might have at our disposal, please ask for those from us, and we'll do the best we can to provide more ideas to you.
Yes.
Thanks,
I want you to hear
Justice.
my voice saying thank you, Betsy. This is Richard.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate you being here.
Texts are
Thanks,
fine,
all.
but finally live. Thank you. Bye now.
Great to
Thanks
see
so much,
everyone. Everyone
Ernie.
have a great rest of your day, okay?
Bye.
Bye-bye.